Welcome to SS2 Physical Education. This lesson covers periodization, the systematic planning of athletic training to peak at the right time and avoid overtraining, a concept fundamental to understanding how elite athletes manage their preparation. Periodization is the planned variation of training volume, intensity, and content over time, organized in cycles of different lengths, with the goal of achieving peak performance at the most important competition. The concept originates from the work of Soviet sports scientist Leo Matveyev in the 1960s, who observed that athletes who varied their training systematically performed better than those who trained the same way year-round. The physiological basis of periodization, the principle of supercompensation, when the body is subjected to training stress, which causes fatigue and temporary performance reduction, it recovers and during recovery, adapts to a higher level of fitness than before. If the next training stress is applied at the right time, when supercompensation is at its peak, the athlete's fitness rises progressively. If training stress is applied too early, before recovery, the athlete overtrains, too late, and fitness returns to baseline. Periodization manages this timing across longer cycles to produce peak performance at competition. Key terms: macrocycle, the overall training plan, usually 1 year or 4 years for an Olympian. Mesocycle, a medium-length block of training, typically 3 to 6 weeks, with a specific training goal. Microcycle, the smallest training unit, typically 1 week, containing the daily training sessions. A typical annual periodization plan for a Nigerian athlete includes several distinct phases. Preparatory phase, preseason. This is the longest phase, occurring when there are no major competitions. It is divided into 2 subphases: general preparatory phase, high volume, low-intensity training focused on building the aerobic base and general fitness. Strength training emphasizes hypertrophy, building muscle mass. Athletes work on fundamental skills and weaknesses. Specific preparatory phase, training becomes more specific to the sport. Intensity increases while volume begins to decrease. Strength training shifts from hypertrophy to maximum strength. Speed and power work begins. Competition phase, in season the focus shifts to maintaining fitness and peaking for competitions. Volume is reduced significantly. Intensity remains high or increases. Sport-specific skills are sharpened. Athletes practice competition simulation. Peak performances are achieved in this phase. Transition phase, off-season. This phase occurs after the main competition season. The athlete takes a complete or near-complete rest from organized training, typically 2 to 4 weeks, to allow full physical and mental recovery. Light recreational activity is encouraged. The athlete reflects on performance and plans for the next macrocycle. Linear versus undulating periodization. In linear periodization, the traditional model, intensity increases and volume decreases progressively throughout the macrocycle. In undulating or nonlinear periodization, volume and intensity vary within microcycles or even within single weeks. This approach is increasingly popular for maintaining adaptations while managing fatigue. Effective periodization incorporates several fundamental training principles. Overload. Training must place greater demand on the body than it is accustomed to in order to produce adaptation. This is applied progressively. Progression. The training load, volume, intensity, or both, must increase over time for continued adaptation. Specificity. Training adaptations are specific to the type of training performed. A swimmer's cardiovascular adaptation does not fully transfer to running and vice versa. An athlete must train in ways that replicate the demands of their sport. Variation. Training must be varied to prevent accommodation, the body's adaptation to repetitive training, which reduces the training stimulus. Individual differences. Athletes respond differently to training. Periodization plans must be individualized. Recovery. Adequate rest is not optional, it is when adaptation occurs. Without sufficient recovery, overtraining results. Overtraining syndrome, OTS. When training stress exceeds recovery capacity for an extended period, overtraining syndrome results. Symptoms include persistent fatigue, decreased performance, increased susceptibility to illness, mood disturbance, sleep disruption, and loss of motivation. Recovery from OTS can take months. Proper periodization prevents OTS by building recovery periods, deload weeks, into the training plan. Periodization is applied in Nigerian elite sports, though its implementation varies significantly. Nigerian football, the Nigerian Premier League season runs roughly from October to July. Club teams in the NPL must periodize their training to peak for league matches and cup competitions. The Super Eagles' preparation for AFCON and World Cup qualifying involves national team periodization managed by the coaching staff and physical preparation coordinator. Nigerian Athletics, the Athletics Federation of Nigeria (AFN), works with national team coaches to plan preparation for the Diamond League, Commonwealth Games, African Championships, and World Championships. Nigerian athletes who train abroad, many are based in the USA, work with their coaches on individual periodization plans. Secondary school sports in Nigeria, WAEC, NECO, and inter-school sports competitions provide competition targets around which Nigerian secondary school athletes can periodize. The long school term structure, 3 terms, can be used as a rough macrocycle framework. The challenge in Nigerian school sports, limited equipment, facilities, and coaching expertise makes systematic periodization difficult to implement at most Nigerian schools. However, the principles of building gradually, picking for key competitions, and allowing recovery are applicable even with limited resources. Today we covered periodization as the systematic planning of training to peak at competition time. The physiological basis is supercompensation. The body adapts to training stress during recovery to a higher level. The hierarchy of cycles: macrocycle, a year; mesocycle, 3 to 6 weeks; microcycle, week. Phases: preparatory, general and specific subphases; competition, and transition. Training principles within periodization: overload, progression, specificity, variation, individual differences, and recovery. Overtraining syndrome results from insufficient recovery. In Nigeria, periodization is applied in elite football and athletics with varying sophistication. For your WAEC examination, be able to define periodization, describe the 3 main phases of an annual training plan, and explain the physiological principle of supercompensation and why it makes periodization necessary.